Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Meeting between representatives of federal government and organized labor in Abuja inconclusive. Negotiation to continue tomorrow. Senate Committee on Army says over 800 soldiers killed by Boko Haram insurgents buried in military cemetery in Maiduguri, Borno State, between 2013 and 2019. Senate calls for the declaration of state of emergency on federal roads across the country to investigate non-remittance of fuel tax to firmer. And Russia moves to avert clash between Turkish and Syrian forces as Turkey's military continues to push into northern Syria. For more information on our top stories and others, do visit our website, channelstv.com. YouTube.com/channelsweb has videos of all our shows. Now, we have some pictures that were sent in to us. We have a set of images we'd like to start off with. Here's one from the Sherry North community here in Lagos, showing the image of floods taking over the building, which our Eyewitness reporter says houses a school. He says the school has had to shut down for more than a week owing to the water. According to our Eyewitness, many residents in the area have relocated to other parts of town, pending when the water subsides, and he wants the government to do something about it. Next is this image from Animashaun Street in Ojodu Abiodun area of Ogun State. The image shows this building sitting dangerously on a cliff, and he says it's a disaster waiting to happen and is calling for proactive measures on the building. Our final set of images from Isako West local government area of Edo State, showing the impact of gully erosion on this road. Our Eyewitness laments the neglect of the road for many years now, in spite of promises by politicians during campaigns, and he wants something urgent done about it. Thanks a lot for your pictures. Do keep them coming in to us. The Federal Road Maintenance Agency is exploring other sources of funding to deliver on its mandate of keeping the federal roads in good and safe condition. The managing director of the agency, Engineer Nuruddin Rafindari, explains that the agency has never received more than 25% of its budgetary allocation since its establishment. He was speaking at the opening of the FIRMA Stakeholders Forum, where the chairman of the FIRMA Governing Board, Mr. Tunde Lemo, explained that funding for roads has fallen short of the minimum threshold set by the World Bank.
It's customary for the management of the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency to convene a forum like this at least twice a year. It's an assembly of field technocrats, but this time it's expanded to feature stakeholders like policymakers, members of the National Assembly, and professionals in the road transport sector. The forum serves as a platform to discuss challenges and constraints confronting the agency, and at the heart of the conversation is inadequate funding.
Funding for Nigerian roads is less than 1% of our GDP, against 3% GDP minimum spending threshold. World Bank recommends minimum threshold of 3%. In Nigeria, we barely achieve a third of that.
About 120 billion naira was required annually over a period of 10 years to revamp the federal roads network in Nigeria. The reality, however, is that FEMA has never received more than 25% of this sum since its inception. Clearly, therefore, FEMA shall benefit from innovative alternative funding for our operations going forward.
In the lead paper, a lecturer from the University of Ilorin suggests how the agency can address the challenges of funding and legal framework.
Why are we running away from an approved transport policy, an approved road transport policy? It's high time we have it so that we stop this motion without movement. Now we must reevaluate the policy framework to mirror current realities. Then we must evaluate other funding options before they are adopted. What are the guiding principles? Minimize multiple levies and taxation, weigh the contribution of each option and make projections based on scientific data.
The forum is expected to develop a viable work plan that will help the agency deliver on its mandate.
Very few announcements, and then we'll go.
Another batch of 173 Nigerians stranded in Libya have returned home. The returnees were received by the National Emergency Management Agency coordinator in Lagos, Mr. Abubakar Mohammed, at the cargo wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Ikeja. 52 of them are adult males, females, 4 female children, 4 female infants, as well as 106 adult males. Others are 2 male children and male infants, while 21 of the returnees have medical issues. One of the returnees narrated how she was lured by a trafficker. Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Makbe Ogun Yusuf. Makbe?
Oh, we'll start with some not too good story, Joma, here in Abuja, as gunmen have abducted yet another clergyman in Malum community, a suburb of Ado-Kola local government area in Taraba State. The victim, who's been identified as Reverend Solomon Jadiel, was said to have been kidnapped at about 2 a.m. today and taken to an unknown destination. His abduction is coming 5 days after the state governor, Darius Ishaku, disclosed that no fewer than 100 persons have been abducted in the state within 9 months.
It's too much for us with the UMCN. We are even thinking that maybe it's a conniver that some people did and doing this role. I think this is 26 or 30 people that kidnappers are carrying from UMC. Seeking for money, but we don't know really what is happening. We are calling to the government of the state and the federation. We have been calling on them to intervene and stop this thing.
Statistics provided by the UMCN pastor that between 26 and 30 pastors of the church have been kidnapped this year alone is not correct. It is also not true that Governor Darius Ishaku has not bothered to do anything about kidnapping in the state. The state government has done quite a lot to stop it. For example, the House of Assembly recently passed a law which makes kidnapping an offense attracting death penalty.
And to a story a little more cheery, it was a day of firsts at the Nigerian Air Force as it commissions its first female fighter pilot and first female combat helicopter pilot in the history of the service. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, who also winged the first female air warrant officer, Grace Garba, who was elevated last week. Air Marshal Abubakar said capable human resources was at the heart of the Nigerian Air Force agenda, and the force will continue to do everything within available resources to improve its lot as far as human capital is concerned. And to health. Nigeria, the federal government is appealing to the private sector to assist the country attain universal health coverage by the year 2030, in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 3.8. Dr. Nicholas Aldiferem, who is the chief physician to the vice president, says the challenge of meeting the health needs of over 200 million Nigerians is a Herculean task. He explains that the federal government is aware of the challenges facing the health sector and will continue to do its best to ensure the provision of adequate health care for all Nigerians within the limited resources of the government. He was speaking at a national dialogue organized by Premium Times in Abuja.
Thank you. The role of state and non-state actors in healthcare funding and support is the focus of the 2019 National Health Dialogue, organized by foremost online newspaper Premium Times. Participants at the dialogue are not too happy with the state of the health sector in the country.
What good is security of life and property to an individual incapacitated by illness, unable to access medical care and life-saving medicines? Right, these are conversations we need to put in perspective. right? And we need to get our priorities in order.
By 2030, to achieve universal health coverage, including financial risk protection, access to quality health service, and access to safe, effective, quality, and affordable essential medicines and vaccines for all, it is a tall order.
The representative of the Vice President admits the uphill task of providing adequate healthcare services for Nigerians as he calls on private sector support.
It has become obvious, though, that the government, at both the state and the federal level, cannot adequately provide healthcare services for 200 million Nigerians.
The Sustainable Development Goal 3.8 is, however, achievable as the organizers of the dialogue call on Nigerians to hold political leaders accountable.
Well, we need to remind them because, you know, we're citizens and we have to demand accountability. So that is why we must make this a priority always. I don't think leaders wake up every day thinking that they want to remember, especially if they are political leaders, all the promises that they've made.
The target 3.8 of the universal health coverage aims at ensuring financial risk protection, access to quality essential healthcare services, and access to safe, effective, quality, and affordable essential medicines and vaccines for all. Although the target date for achieving it is 2030, participants are optimistic that it is achievable with greater political commitment by the nation's leaders.
When the news at 10 returns, IMF cuts global growth forecast for 2019, renews call for tight monetary policy in Nigeria. That's on Business News. Do join us again.